On your Thursday episode of Locked On Raptors, it's pretty much a gravy season for the Toronto Raptors, but there are some guys who are going to feel the heat down the stretch. It's the pressure index next.
You are Locked On Raptors, your daily Toronto Raptors podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's going on? And welcome to another episode of Locked On Raptors, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. It is Thursday, February the 19th. I'm your host, Sean Woodley. I've been covering the Raptors a long time now. You can find all my stuff, where you find it on Blue Sky. Shows on Instagram. You can join us in the Locked On Raptors Discord server. Come be part of our listener community. Link in the description of the podcast. 100% free to join. Great place to come talk ball among friends. And there's a game tonight. What a world. It's been a long time. And it's always great to hang out in the live game thread in there among other fun chats. We got a food chat, video games. It's all going on in there. Anyway, today's show is brought to you by our friends over at 5 Hour Energy. Have your cake and drink it too. Birthday cake flavor is back. No fork needed. Vanilla-y, cakey flavor, caffeinated kick, and no sugar. It's party time. Order now at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. All right. Off and running here on a Thursday edition of the show. The Toronto Raptors return to action against the Chicago Bulls tonight. Colin Murray-Boyles looks like he'll be good to go. Mamu seems like he's still recovering from the knock he took at the end of the Pistons game and might not play. And otherwise, seems like it's all systems go for the Toronto Raptors against the not very good all-guard Chicago Bulls. We're not going to talk about that game, though. We're going to do something a little different as we get ready for the home stretch, the final third of the season, the push to the playoffs. This season has largely been very gravy. It's all just been kind of a shooting above expectations, feeling pretty good about things and where they sit. But as we get close to the playoffs, of course, pressure ratchets up, and we are going to do the Toronto Raptors pressure index and dig into which Raptors are under the most heat going into the rest of the season and the playoffs. And here to do that with me is our dear pal, Vivek Jacob, who is barely sleeping because he's covering the Olympics for Yahoo Sports and also still doing his wonderful Raptors work over at Raptors in 7. Big V, how the hell are you?
I'm good. Like you said, short on sleep. These 6 a.m. start times have not been kind. I'm not a morning person. But hey, it's been fun watching Canada get in a groove here. 8 days without a gold medal to start, but they have really saved it all for the back end. So some fun stuff. Yesterday was a crazy day with the Canada-Czechia game, and there's just so much happening. Homan has been catching fire of late. So it's fun stuff.
Yeah, man. I woke up and watched ski mountaineering this morning, and I've changed my personality. I'm a ski mountaineering guy. I'm going to try to make the Olympic team in Salt Lake 2030 because that's some skiing I can do. The downhill's just so nice and even. It's not very steep. It's perfect as a cross-country skier myself. It seems like it's a good fit for my very limited skills. All right, Big V, the pressure index. We've got kind of the top 10 guys on the Raptors, plus Darko Rajakovic, Bobby Webster in here. We're going to kind of rapid fire through these. Let's start here, Big V. Who do you have as the guy that you have under the most pressure going down the stretch and into the playoffs for the Raptors? Again, this has been a season where everything's been coming up Raptors. Everyone feels pretty good about things. There's not a ton of stakes in the grand scheme of things, but as we get down to clutch time of the season and the postseason, things are going to start to get a little hairier for some of these guys, and the decisions the Raptors will make in the summer will largely depend on what happens between now and the end of the postseason. I think there's a few candidates here, but who do you have as your number one guy you have under the most pressure? And hey, we can even do a stupid little game of it all and put a number between 1 and 10 on all of these guys in terms of the pressure. 1 being it's a low pressure system in the air and your head feels free and there's no migraines going on. And number 10 is you're making diamonds. What you got for your pressure rating for your most under pressure Raptor, and who is that Raptor?
For me, the most under pressure Raptor is Jakob Poeltl. When you talk about all the feel good things from this season, if there's one thing you don't feel good about, it's Jakob Poeltl's back. And on top of that, the extension that he was given and the way that maybe, factored into how the trade deadline played out. And so I think he needs to show that he's back at a healthy level, that he can be himself. And I think if, say in these 25 odd games remaining, if he's only able to play in like 5 to 10 of them, and we still go through the same thing where he's struggling with his back, I think that becomes a really tenuous situation in the summer. And so for me, I have him at a healthy 9. I think we need to see him playing some of his best basketball. We need to see him be the center, because on top of it all, he is the only 7-footer on the roster. And so I think that just puts a lot on him, fairly or unfairly. Like, not some of it is just down to the roster construction that Bobby has elected for. But for all those reasons, I think it's him.
Interesting. So I took a bit of a different approach on Poeltl. I only put him at a 4, and I totally get where you're coming from, and I'm totally fine to be wrong on this one. But I guess for me, I've kind of just like, gotten accustomed to life without Jakob Poeltl, and my expectations are like pretty low from here to the rest of the season, because I'm just not really sure what to expect. Like, I'm not quite sure how healthy he's going to be. It's such a sort of finicky thing dealing with backs, and I think the team has shown they can play pretty effective ball without him. Will that hold up in the playoffs? Who's to say? We've barely seen Jakob Poeltl play in the playoffs as an NBA player himself, right? Like, we were not quite sure exactly what his full utility is going to be in that environment. It's a bit of a nebulous thing with Poeltl for me, and because I've kind of expected that, you mentioned that it could get tenuous, the situation. I feel like it's already quite tenuous, like with the contract and the extension looking pretty rough right now. And obviously going into the trade deadline, there was a lot of talk and a whole lot of non-movement with Jakob Poeltl, because it seems as though the entire league is like, do not touch that contract. And so I don't know how much that circumstance changes between now and the end of the season. I suppose if he's very good, it becomes a situation where maybe he's a more movable player in the summertime, or maybe you're just happier and more comfortable playing him into next season and riding out a couple more years of the deal. So yeah, I can see the argument for nudging up my 4 a little bit, but I think because I've just kind of set my expectations on the floor for what to expect, I kind of have him a little bit lower on my pressure rating. I'll go with my most under pressure guy, who I have also given a 9. And it's not like he's the most important player on the team, but I think in the grand scheme of his career, the next 27 games plus playoffs are kind of huge for Grady Dick. Like, it is pretty essential, I think, that he figure it out down the stretch. We talked about this a little bit with Wolfond on Tuesday. Just the sort of the improvement that's gone on in his game, the rim finishing, the defensive uptick, all that stuff. It's been great. It's been awesome to see. But the one thing that's supposed to be there has just not been there. He's still shooting 24% on above the break threes. And if those don't go down, the utility of Grady Dick is just kind of uncertain. And he's going into a summer where he's going to be extension eligible going into next year. I think at this point, I'd be shocked if he gets an extension from the Raptors. I think they'll probably just play it out through next year. But if he has a really good closing kick to the season and can actually play playoff minutes as a spacing agent, maybe that changes the calculus for the Raptors going into next year and for Grady Dick. And so, yeah, like, there's a world in which this goes really poorly down the stretch and Grady Dick is like getting Davion Mitchell's salary dumped like the Kings did to Mitchell a couple summers ago in that trade with the Raptors, in order for the Raptors to have some more summer flexibility to keep a guy like Mamu. Or if he plays really well, like, his future with the team could kind of get solidified, because that player, sort of optimized, is a perfect fit with the most important players on this team. And so, yeah, I think there's a lot riding on this end of season stretch for Grady. What do you have Grady's score at as far as the pressure index?
I actually have him pretty high. I have him as an 8. So
okay, there you go. Yeah,
pretty much tied for second on my pressure rankings. We'll tease that for who I might have along with him. Yeah, I think with Grady, I probably would have had him at a 9 if not for the fact that he's secure in his contract for next year.
Sure.
Like he does. They've picked up the club option, so he kind of has that bit of safety. And I think for all intents and purposes, like I could see the first 30 games of next year really being where that pressure index is at a maximum, saying hey, like, it's now or never. Yeah, I think it's super important for Grady to find his shot. Like, as you said, he's improved in important areas. He's done the little things, but if the main thing isn't the main thing, then it really doesn't matter for Grady. So, yeah, definitely very close to you. I had him at an 8, and I definitely see why he's facing quite a bit of pressure.
Yeah, it's kind of like if I did all of the right things in terms of like doing the production of the podcast. The audio sounds nice, the camera framing is nice, but I got on the microphone and got the yips and like couldn't say words. Like it's kind of that. Like it's the main thing's got to be the main thing, as you have said a few times this year. We're gonna come back on the other side here, Big V. Get into the big guns: Scottie Barnes, Brandon Ingram, Immanuel, Quickley, RJ Barrett. Those guys have, I think, varying degrees of pressure, some more than others. We will get into that coming up in just 1 second. Today's show is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy, and welcome to the 5 Hour Energy Flavor Draft. We're looking at every aspect of the draft to let you know which tasty flavors are the best and which might be sleepers. The board is set, the flavors are ready, and the only one is going to take the top spot. 5 Hour Energy has a wide variety of flavors, something for everyone. They have 5 Hour Energy shots to give you the boost without any sugar, and there's a lot of upcoming flavor innovations planned. You got the birthday cake flavor. That's quite fun. You got fruity rainbow, confetti craze, cotton candy, and then some of your classics like your old, berry and lime and things like that. And right now, you can go to 5hourenergy.com and pick your favorite flavors and just debate and choose which ones you think should go at the top of the 5 Hour Energy draft. I love 5 Hour Energy, especially as a new dad. It's just nice to get that little boost in the afternoon. Sometimes I don't want to make a French press in the middle of the afternoon. Just having a little shot to get me through the day of taking care of a little one is really, really helpful and valuable. You can find your favorite flavors of 5 Hour Energy shots over at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. Go check it out right now. Back at it here with Big V as we continue to dig into the pressure index for the Raptors going into the final third of the season, plus the playoffs. Before we do that, just a reminder, this is a great time to get on board with the Locked On Raptors Every Dayer Club. It's $5 a month, $50 for the year, gets you ad-free episodes of the show every single day. Plus, you get access to a Locked On Discord, which is a great sort of addition to our free Locked On Raptors Discord. The Locked On Discord is a network-wide Discord that features listeners of the network from across the globe. It's lots of fun, lots of Olympic talk going on in there. NBA chat's pretty fun. Come hang out. We'd love to see you. And it supports me and makes me feel good. If you like the show and have enjoyed it free for as long as you have, and you want to kick me a few extra bucks a month, you can go and sign up. $5 a month, $50 for the year. Gets you those ad-free shows. All right, Big V. Let's go Scottie Barnes, the best player on the team, a guy who's been awesome, a guy who was, I think, well overshot expectations coming into the year, a guy who was putting together a potential defensive player of the year case and an all-NBA case and on and on and on. He's been amazing. I have him a little bit lower on the pressure index just because it's been so great this year, and this will be the sort of first run for him in the playoffs. Of course, there's always going to be some modicum of pressure when you're the best player on a team going into a postseason. But I think this being the first year of his contract, there's no contractual stuff hanging over him. And it's just been such a great experience watching Barnes kind of come into his own this year. I have him at a 5 just because I feel like that's the baseline for the best guy on a playoff team, but I don't have it much higher or lower than that. I think he's, pretty comfortable. I don't see our sort of view of Scottie Barnes changing all that much, at least for the bad, if things don't go great over the next couple of months. And obviously, if he does great, then it goes through the moon. Where are you at with Scottie Barnes in the pressure index? You're muted.
Yeah, very similar line of thinking to you. For the listeners, basically for all the starters, I had them at a baseline of 5. And I was like, okay, how much more am I tacking on top of this? And for Scotty, I put him at a 6. I said, okay, in terms of what he's accomplished so far this season, becoming an all-star, very likely will be, at least in my opinion, a member of the all-defensive first team. I think it'll go down as an outstanding season for him. Really possibly one of the all-time seasons as a Raptor.
Totally, yeah.
And so I think from that standpoint, there's very little pressure on him. And so, yeah, when it comes to the postseason, I think it is just like that baseline of like, hey, you are the face of the franchise. There is going to be a certain level of expectation to lead, to kind of take this team into those games and be the guy you've been to this point. And so that's kind of what he's going to be measured against, right? Like it's his first postseason run. Like, hey, can you be the guy we've seen for 82 games? If you do drop off, like where is the drop off? And so, yeah, I moved it up from a 5 to a 6 because I just felt like that was fair for the face of the franchise.
Totally fair. It is also possible I'm over-indexing on the 4 games he played back in the 2022 playoffs where he was kind of a boss, but I just feel very good about what playoff Scotty Barnes is going to look like. I think he's just kind of a maniac who's going to really be sort of at home in the province of maniacs, which is the NBA playoffs. Let's go to the next 3. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Just quickly, I mean, going back to that series, like game 1 of that series felt surreal at the start, you know, until kind of lands on Joel Embiid's foot. Like it felt like, oh my God, like this is a rookie in his first playoff game and he looks like he could just control everything. And that was pretty special.
There is kind of a real what if about that series, I think, man. Just like they sort of put the scare into them almost coming back from down 3-0. Siakam has a couple of bangers in that series. It's Gary Trent Jr. was hurt. I think Fred was kind of not himself. Like it was just like
Fred wasn't himself the entire second half of the season.
Yeah. It was bit of a letdown overall. But yeah, man, there's a world in which they win that series, and it's one of the funniest things that's ever happened. And the Sixers probably don't exist as they exist right now because of the shame. Let's pivot to the next 3 guys, sort of in the pecking order. We can kind of lump them all together here. Brandon Ingram, Immanuel, Quickley, RJ Barrett. I think all I would say have like a smidge more pressure on them than Scotty Barnes. How that's ordered, we're about to reveal. I think for me, I have Quickley at an 8, Ingram at a 7, Barrett at a 6. I think Quickley, he's had the sort of playoff troubles in his brief dalliances with postseason basketball and his time with the Knicks. And obviously, I think his contract gets wildly overanalyzed, and it's to the point that it's exhausting and really boring to talk about. I think he's a good player. I think he's had a really nice last stretch of the season, and he's kind of rebounded from a tough little middle part there in December or so where he was very much in a swoon. But how he performs in the playoffs is a big deal because they're paying him a lot of money, and he's, part of this team for a while, barring some kind of trade. And, they're so bereft of guard play that they need him to be playable and good and on the floor for 30 plus minutes in the postseason. And if he's not, things just get a little bit of hairy going into the offseason, I think. And, that if he has a bad playoffs, then the idea of trading him in an upgrade trade gets a little bit harder as well, as we just saw with Jakob Poeltl. And so I think he's the highest of all these 3 guys in terms of pressure. I have Ingram at the 7. I think he's a playoff conducive player. I don't know if the series against the Thunder, where Lou Dort ate his lunch while he was kind of hurt, is necessarily a fair representation of him as a playoff player. I think the mid-range stuff is going to play super well, the length, all that stuff. And then RJ I just have as a 6. He's been very good. He's less essential, I think, to the sort of, inner workings of the team than the other 3 guys. Very good still, very helpful. But, I think a smidge below those other guys. How would you rank those 3, and what numbers have you assigned to each of them?
So I gave both BI and RJ a 7. Okay. I think for, slightly different reasons. I think with BI, again, he comes in with the expectation of being a playoff guy, with the being a guy that, when the shot clock's under 10, you're going to get him the ball. He's going to make things happen. And to see that in a playoff environment and for him to show that he can do it is going to be important. To your point about that series going up against Lou Dort, for the people who weigh that, I think you have to weigh the series where he was absolutely fantastic against the Suns just as much then.
27, 5-5, I believe, on ludicrous shooting against Mikal Bridges and, the whole deal they had on their wings. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm confident that he can do it. Great to see him get into the All-Star team. Great to see him play as many games as he's played. When the trade went down, I wrote about how, the extent to which he's considered injury prone is a bit overblown. That people kept talking about the last time he played 65 games, and kept throwing that number out there when, as a percentage in those 72 game seasons, he had played over 80% of the games, and it just,
you were cooking with that one, man, at least so far.
And so I just felt like it was overblown. And now he's been mostly healthy. And I think, that I put it at a 7 just because hey, you are, the second best player on the team. The expectations are going to be there. And yeah, I put it a bit above Scotty because I think, to an extent, we might be saying, hey, like how much of this defense is going to translate to the postseason?
Sure. Yeah.
RJ, I think he's proven an essential part of the offense. I think that he was so great until the injury, and I think that injury kind of lingered through the All-Star break. We haven't really seen his best or see him play at that level since, and I think that's more so what I'm asking for is like, hey, can we see that RJ again? And then, well, what does the offense look like with that? So I think, I think RJ from, a contractual standpoint is going to be evaluated just as much as anyone by Bobby. And so, I felt like it was just fair to put him at a 7. And then I put IQ at an 8. He's the other guy that I had tied with Grady. I think that he's someone, and this was almost, I was looking at the playoff matchups and saying, if the Raptors get matched up against the Celtics, and if he looks like the guy who played that road game against Boston and RJ and him were doing great things, you're coming away very encouraged, regardless of the result.
Definitely.
If he comes away looking like he has in some of those other games where Peyton Pritchard has just eaten his lunch and looks like he doesn't belong on the floor, then I think we're coming away very discouraged.
Yep, for sure.
And so he can't be that guy. Obviously, there's the potential of him going up against his former team in the Knicks. And so I think there's like a wide spectrum of how it could play out in the postseason. And it really can't be poor for him. And so that's why I think I've put it high. Like, I do agree with you that some of the contract stuff is overblown. But at the same time, like if you go into that first round and you lose in 4 or 5 games and Quickley comes out of it averaging like 12 or 13 and shooting like
Lou Williams numbers,
then you're like, oh boy.
No doubt. Like there's a lot riding on this for IQ. Yeah, you make a good point on RJ. I don't know why I had him lower than Ingram, but like he's under similar contract scrutiny. He's going into an expiring year next year. His place within the team, I think, is very much still up for debate. And he's also a guy the Raptors might look to move in an upgrade trade as an expiring deal this summer. And if he's really bad, maybe that's harder to do. Maybe it's not as meaningful because he's an expiring, but I'll nudge RJ up to 7 as well. Ingram, Quickley, Barrett, I think all pretty important and under a bit of heat going to the postseason because they are the guys in support of the very good player at the center of this all, and Scotty Barnes. We'll come back on the other side here, Big V, and get into the bench dudes. We'll rapid fire through Jamal Shed, Mamu, Colin Murray-Boyles, Jakob Poeltl, maybe some quick hitters on Darko and Bobby as well. We'll do that coming up in just 1 second. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Quo. And look, if you're someone who has a business and you want to make sure your communications are on point, Quo is the thing you should be using. Streamlining your communication is one of the quickest upgrades you can make if you own a business. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled Quo, the smarter way to run your business comms, because when your team is reachable, organized, communicating in one place, you're not just working cleaner, you're creating more opportunities to connect with your customers. Your whole team can call or text from the same shared business number, so nothing gets missed. Everyone sees the full conversation thread, which makes replies faster and more personal. And also, it's a really nice thing if you are someone who owns a business, you can like take vacation time and take care of yourself and know that other people on your team are going to see what they need to see while you're out. It's no surprise that Quo is the #1 business phone system on G2. Trusted by more than 90,000 businesses, from solo operators to growing teams. Make this the year where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free. Plus, get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/LockedInNBA. That's quo.com/LockedInNBA. Quo. No missed calls. No missed customers. Today's show is also brought to you by Indeed. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and one position you have to fill is still sitting open. When the pressure's on, you need to find the right hire, and this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for. in a candidate's skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping for the right candidate stumbling across your post. You're putting it right in front of those people so they can click on it and apply. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I'll be talking to you here for this little live read, the companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all the boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your premium the premium status that it deserves at indeed.com/podcast. Just go to indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about it on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire. This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Back at it here with Big V, wrapping things up as we run through the pressure index for the Toronto Raptors. And we'll go rapid fire here through the bench guys and the coaching staff and front office. Let's go with, we've talked about Grady Dick already. Let's go Jamal Shead. For me, I think pretty low pressure overall. Like he's obviously an important part of this team. He's probably going to play in some important minutes. I think he's been a little overextended in some of the things the Raptors have asked him to do because they are light on guard play. That's not through any fault of his own. And I don't necessarily expect Jamal Shead to be a playoff killer. If he is, great. More gravy to pour on top of this season. That's oops all gravy. But, if he doesn't really kind of play up as a playoff player, I don't think that necessarily means that he's not a guy you want to have around as a long-term backup. I think it just means he's a little overextended in the role they're asking him to play. They probably got to reevaluate their sort of approach to guard play in the future. So I've met a 3. What do you have for Jamal Shead?
I've got him at a 3. We are.
Look at us. Let's see eye to eye, baby.
Pretty much simpatico on a lot of this stuff. He's exceeded my expectations to this point. I thought there might be more growing pains to be had than he's shown, stepping full-time into the primary backup point guard role. And so I think he's been really, really good. And so, even if he were to struggle in the playoffs, I'd kind of be like, hey, you know what, that's just one that you just kind of got to take on the chin and learn from. I've got really no real pressure on him. Obviously, it'd be nice to see him maintain this level throughout the rest of the season, shoot the ball a bit better. In terms of everything else, it's just gravy at this point.
For sure. I'm getting hungry, all this talk of gravy. So next up, I got Mamu, who I think has been just an absolute delight. And I think I have a little bit higher, not necessarily because I'm kind of evaluating his fit within this team, because I think that's very clear. But there's like a lot of financial upside for Mamu if he has a good postseason run and stretch finish to the year as a guy who's going to be an unrestricted free agent, assuming he turns down his option for next year at the minimum, which at this point he would be a fool not to because he's real good. There's also the pressure on Mamu of, can he cap off and make this into the best single season Toronto Raptors season in history? That's not to say he won't be around and maybe they keep him around, but like if you're going just like free agent signing 1 year, Bismack Biyombo had the one and Mamu's right there. And I think Mamu's probably ahead of Bismack in terms of overall pop, but Bismack did have a playoff game where he got like 47 rebounds. And so can Mamu do something like that? Can he hit 9 threes in a playoff game to cement himself in Raptors lore? If he does, it's interesting because that might be the thing that sends him out of town because some other team ponies up a lot of money for him. If he's a little less good, maybe the Raptors have an easier time keeping him. There's a lot going on here, but I think because of the potential contractual upside and because of the very important place in Raptors lore that he stands to sort of cement himself into, I think it's a 6 for me for Mamu going into the stretch run. What do you got?
Interesting. I've got him at a 5, so not far from you. I do think that if there's one bone to pick with Mamu, it is the inconsistency. And, there are those
That's
games.
what bench guys do, man. That's why you're a bench guy. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think those games where it just seems like he's completely flat gives you, the 0-1 or 2-1, the score sheet. Like, I think that's those nights are tough. And so you want to see that continue to improve. And yeah, I think the contractual stuff you say is important. I think that even going into the trade deadline, I'm sure part of the discussion was like, oh, if we go after a certain guy, we're not, we might not have the money that we want to give to Mamu. So if they've been kind of accounting for that, then it's important for him to maintain that level, show in the playoffs that he can be a similar type of guy. I'd say, Bismack is still above him. He'd have some work to do there. I look at that playoff run, going to the East Finals, JV getting injured against Miami, and him kind of stepping up to the plate. I think all of that stuff adds to the lore. So Sandro's got some work to do. So I'll keep it at a healthy 5 and give him the challenge to really close out strong.
I like it. We'll go to Colin Murray-Boyles next. Oh, this one's easy for me. I have him at a 1. He is way overshot every expectation as a rookie. If it doesn't go well in the playoffs, okay, fine. I kind of expect that. The offense has not been amazing when he's been on the floor. Maybe that becomes an inhibiting factor. His defense is ridiculous. I think that's going to play beautifully in the postseason, no matter what. But yeah, he's already laid down enough track for me to think, okay, yeah, this is a guy who's going to be really important for this team for a long time. The playoffs basically irrelevant to me in this regard. And the pressure on his thumb is like a 14 because he just keeps on dunking with that damn thing. It's under so much duress. But otherwise, yeah, it's a 1 for me. Are you with me on this one?
So I don't have anyone at a 1. So I have him at
I don't know why that makes you a coward, but it does in my books.
I have him at a 3, so pretty much as low as anyone. And I just feel like I couldn't, even though he's a rookie, I think the Raptors have become dependent enough on him to where his performance matters.
Yeah, that's fair.
And so for that reason, I put him at a 3 at the same level as a Jamal Shed, and said, hey, he is still going to be depended on. Those plays, it seemed like he learned a bit. Someone might have shown him some film about those missed opportunities where he's under the basket and passing it out. So you hope to not see that again, because you don't want to see that Ben Simmons moment in the playoffs. And so, yeah, I think he's definitely exceeded expectations. He's playing great and giving you more than you could ever hope for on the defensive end from a rookie. And so, yeah, I have them. I have the expectations, the pressure ticker as low as they could be for anyone on this roster right now at a 3.
I think that makes sense. And now let's go quickly. Jakob Poeltl. I think he's maybe a year away from there being like a real pressure cooker on can you please figure this out, man? Can you figure out just scoring more than 3 points in the games where you play good defense and all of that? But there's still, I think, a little bit of pressure on him to kind of try to seize the backup 2-guard minutes here. And I think the sort of best idealized version of the Raptors has Jakob Poeltl as a playable player because his defense is that good and that helpful at the point of attack. I have him at a 4. I could be talked into anything up to a 6 probably with Jakobi, but where you have Jakobi listed as on the pressure index here?
Yeah, so I am at a 6.
Okay.
I think that the expectations on him now, defensively, we know what they are because he's proven himself on that end of the floor. It's really coming down to the consistency of his jumper. And so I think part of it is also because Grady is at a 9. And I feel like you need Jakobi at a certain level because of that. And so I think that he's become important enough where I kind of was like, okay, can I put him at a 5? It's like, if he struggles in the playoffs, is it a big deal? It's not a huge deal. But then, you could also go into a situation next season where he is very much at an 8, and so I was like, okay, if next season could already be an 8, it wouldn't make sense to say he's only at a 3 or a 4 right now. And so for those reasons, I put him at a 6 right now.
It's fair enough. And with that, I think we're going to leave it there, and we're going to make the Darko and Bobby portion of this into a bonus episode. So we'll leave it here for now. Big V, you want to promote anything for the good people out there before we pivot to bonus episode territory?
Usual stuff. Raptors in 7. Doing some stuff at Yahoo for the Olympics, so you can check that out. It's mainly editing, so not a lot of writing, but I got to write about the wolf dog yesterday, so that was fun.
Hell yeah. Anything to get more eyes on cross-country skiing is a big one in my eyes, as a little cross-country freak. Johannes Hosflat Klæbo, that guy is a freaking monster. The Michael Phelps of cross-country skiing, who also spent some time in jail for a driving infraction. Anyway, go check out all Big V's work. You can, of course, find this show wherever you get your podcasts available on, YouTube and the apps and things like that. You can leave reviews. You can tell a friend. Any way you support the show is appreciated. You can also pay me some money. $5 a month, $50 for the year gets you ad-free episodes of the show. You can go to the link in the description to find the landing page for that and do that if you want to support me and the podcast and my endeavors. You can also join our free Locked On Raptors Discord. Link also in the description of the podcast. We'll be back again with a little bonus episode. I don't know why I'm doing the spooky hands for that, but it's a bonus episode about Darko and Bobby and the pressure on them a little bit later on today. And we will leave it there. Thanks so much for hanging. Bye-bye. Yeah.